Welcome to Student Stories, where we have conversations with students regarding school and other issues they're facing today. Today I spoke with my brother, Maximin Clement, to find out more about how high school seniors are coping with the pandemic in the midst of college applications and other senior responsibilities. Where are you in the application process, and how has that been going? Have you applied early anywhere? Have you heard back from anywhere yet? Adding on that, how do you think that process might have been different than how it would have been had we not been in the pandemic?
Yeah, so I think I'm definitely in a great place with my application process. I did a lot of places early, and I think that really gave me a nice head start because I got accepted from some schools, rejected from some schools. So it kind of gives me a good idea about if I should keep applying to places or if I should just put the pin in it and just start looking at where I want to decide I want to go. I actually do think it's harder to apply to college, through the pandemic, because usually when we're in person in school, we have allocated time during our classes to work and get help from teachers and have teachers look over our essay and stuff like that. But since we're online, it feels like a lot more stressful, I think, than it would be if we were in person, because it makes complete sense, but teachers can't just say, oh, go work on your college applications, because some kids would just take that time to take a nap or go take a shower and not actually work on their college applications, and it would just be cutting into time that we could be learning. So it's unfortunate. I definitely wish we had more time to work on the college applications during school, but I can see how that's not really possible. The workload that we've had homework-wise in school, I've found to be far more than I have ever had in high school. And I don't know if that's because I'm a senior, but I think the workload is crazy this year because we're online. I think it's really hard to tell how much work teachers are actually assigning. I would definitely say that next year a lot more time should be given to the seniors for them to be able to work on college applications, because it's a lot of work. It's like you're taking an extra couple of classes, just how much you have to write and all the questions you have to answer and submitting your scores. It's just a lot of work. So I think there should definitely be more time allocated next year.
Has hearing back from colleges kind of relieved stress, or now that colleges have chose you or made their decisions about you, do you now feel a kind of new apprehension when it comes to what am I going to do in the future? Where will I decide to go if I have multiple options?
It definitely takes off a lot of stress, that I've already heard back some decisions, because it's always I think every kind of person who's applying to college kind of gets that nerve-wracking, nervous feeling in their stomach, where it's what if I don't get into anywhere? At least I know I'll be going to college next year. So I think it takes off a lot of stress, especially with school. Now, obviously, still putting my best effort into schoolwork, but now I can do schoolwork and be really I don't have to really, really worry that it's gonna directly affect where I go to school next year.
Do you feel like it might give you a new perspective now, kind of realistically seeing an end goal, versus I feel like before you hear back from any schools, you understand how important grades are, but maybe don't realize the actual concrete reality of why they're important. So do you think that hearing back from schools, feeling interested in schools has given you more perspective or even motivation in that sense?
Yeah, definitely. Okay. Well, I'm not to put myself on blast, but I was never the kid who was, staying inside to study or, trying to, put all of my effort in school. Obviously, I still tried my best, and I tried extremely hard during high school. But I was never the kid who was, valedictorian, all that stuff. But I still definitely put my best effort in, and I think that I kind of did give me the perspective, because typing in, some of your schools that you're applying to want you to type in your grades manually from high school, and just doing that, I kind of looked back and I said, oh, maybe I could have done better here. Maybe I could have done better in this class. Maybe I should have, put put in more work into this project. Maybe I should have done this on this test. And in the moment, you might not think it's like important, but when you're actually applying to school and you're looking back, I think you want to be confident with what you've done and really have there be no room for improvement. Grades don't define who you are at all, but I think they're still important if you want to get into college for sure.
Yeah, totally. And I think a lot of colleges are looking for well-rounded people too, to people that aren't just striving academically, but also people who are involved with certain activities or have lots of passions or interests. I would love to hear more about activities that you've been involved in, or maybe some moments from high school that you look back on and feel proud of.
Yeah, looking back at high school, just a handful of things I'm really happy that I got to partake in. The whole arts program at the high school is really, really important to me, and I think it's important to a lot of other people too. The work that goes into putting on shows and concerts and stuff like that is just like insane, and I think that it doesn't get enough credit and recognition because it might look like easy when you see a kid like draw something, or you might see someone singing, or you might see someone playing an instrument, and they make it look really easy. I think at our school we have a lot of talented art kids at our school, but the amount of work that goes into practicing is crazy, and I think that it definitely is one of the more impressive things that I've seen kids do at my high school. Soccer, I played soccer all 4 years of high school, and super fun. The kids are super fun to play with. The culture that comes with it is super fun, and it's definitely important to stay active and stay healthy, especially during the winter. I worked with the Newburyport Preservation Trust to kind of if you don't know the trust, they're known for advocating for historic houses to be preserved, and I worked with them, and me and some other high school kids worked with them for the past couple of years, trying to take preservation and flip it into our generation, so kids our age can see how important preserving old houses are, because I want to come back here in 10 years and see all the beautiful houses that I say today. I don't want to see new malls and new stores and stuff that I don't recognize.
I feel like it can be so tough in classes, in high school classes, to find passion and inspiration and interest in stuff, especially knowing that other kids might not be as interested, or maybe they're way more interested, and I understand that dynamic can feel uncomfortable. So I think that's why it's even more important to pursue these activities, extracurricular activities, because it gives you an environment where you feel like your voice matters, and where everyone around you is working on the same thing and equally as interested, like you said, if not more. And I feel like from these activities you can also learn a lot of skills that will be extremely helpful to your college experience that you might not have found in classrooms. This senior class is so uniquely situated because they were able to see how schools addressed these issues and how they handled them appropriately or not, because the senior class last year were kind of like the guinea pigs. I'm wondering, did that play any part in where you applied, thinking about applying? It's okay if it didn't, but I am just really interested to hear from a student about whether or not that had any effect.
Yeah, so for me personally, I would say it didn't, because if the COVID pandemic continues into my freshman year of college, I would probably end up taking the year off, just because I'm not a huge fan of the whole online learning thing. Obviously, it's really important that kids still have the opportunity to learn in high school, especially through the pandemic, but I wouldn't be interested in pursuing that in college, and I would probably wait until I could be in person. And I think that's similar with a lot of other kids too. But I think a lot of other kids who are applying to school right now might think about how good the online program is, how accessible it would be for them, if they're going to go in the fall and we're still going to have some partially remote learning. I also think it goes the other way. I think that colleges are looking for things new from kids that they haven't before because of the whole pandemic.
Not only are schools more familiar with tackling this issue, but I feel like you guys have spent so much time and you've been thrown into this at such a typically important part of your life, your senior year. You've been thrown into this and spent so much time in it that I feel like it can only get better. For myself in particular, it was really difficult to make an adjustment from spending every day with your friends, relying on these same people every day of the summer, and being thrown into this completely new situation and not knowing anyone. And I think I kind of felt isolated. I felt a bit antisocial because I was just so confused by what was happening, even though I had chosen to go to college, and I'm glad I did. Do you feel like in any way more prepared for the social environment of college? Do you feel like having this kind of like pre-exposure to those kind of feelings of separation almost would make you more comfortable finally being in that social environment again and being able to go out and meet new people?
I think it'll be a lot easier to make friends in college because of how cooped up everyone's been. And I think that, the way things are looking now, hopefully by the time that, I'm going to college and everyone else around me is going to college, things will be relatively normal again. And I think that it's going to line up so well that the second people get to college, then everyone's just going to be super, super social because of how they've been for the past year and a half. Just, barely seeing people, going to stores occasionally, staying inside all day, going right from that to living with a bunch of kids your age. As much as it has sucked to live half of high school online, I think it's going to be looking better when we're all in college.
Going off to school, you might also feel uniquely bonded to other people your age, even the ones you don't know yet, because you have all been through this situation of being inside, as you said, and being cooped up. So I totally see that, and I'm really happy to hear about that. And I'm happy to hear some hope too. I had been thinking this whole time, it must be nice to have extra time at home, because I know people are kind of cooped inside too. So I was like, I feel like people's college application process would be, in my head, I was thinking it would be easier because there'd be more time. But when all the time is spent at home, it's like, I can imagine it's very challenging, especially for a high schooler, to be able to separate out those chunks and kind of take that position without having resources such as teachers who can not just give you that time and not just make sure you work on it, but also help you with those and answer questions. Do you feel like there's anybody at the school, maybe even not at the school, just in general, a mentor, a teacher that has stepped up and kind of helped you get through this process?
To name a couple, my guidance counselor, Miss Fitzgerald at the school, she's very, very helpful. Mrs. Croft, my lit teacher, who looked over my essay. I definitely say that those two are the people at the school that helped me the most with the college application process.
How do you find yourself communicating with teachers about this? Are there any experiences you've had trying to work around this with teachers or with other students?
Work around the workload?
Yeah.
I have contributed to a lot of campaigns run by students to try to reduce the workload this year. Unfortunately, I don't see any change currently, and I don't think any change will happen, which is unfortunate, because it's actually a lot bigger of an issue than it seems. There's a lot of kids who are falling behind very easily. I know a lot of people who are really, really good students who have been falling behind this year just because of how much work there is every day.
I feel like students speaking up now about it hopefully will at least allow future students, future seniors who I am really wishing well, and I really hope they are not hit the same way you guys or the graduating class before you was, but it is tricky. So if we are still in this situation, or at least if we're still if there's still some remnants of this situation left next year, hopefully your words and the leadership of students trying to get these changes made will be listened to. If not, high schools taking it into consideration, I really think that colleges will, and I hope colleges have in the application process. As you said, colleges are probably looking at different things than they used to look at, considering a lot of students didn't have test scores, etc. So I hope that level of understanding and sympathy to the situation will at least come from the college's application decisions.
Definitely.